path from survival to significance isn't easy, but it also isn't a mystery. The freedom, fulfillment, and financial outcomes you hoped for from your real estate career are within reach. You just have to follow the path that leads there. We've talked through how to think like a CEO and a COO, and today I'm excited to get to Chief Financial Officer, our CFO space. And I do think this is the one that our realtor entrepreneurs probably struggle with the most, or maybe are most afraid of a little bit, maybe. So actually I was going to ask some insight from you. How do you feel personally about your CFO abilities, knowledge, skills? I don't know. What do you
Same
feel?
way. Fake it till you make it.
Right. Okay.
Definitely not been a strength of mine. I remember my college economics and finance classes and accounting. Good golly, did I struggle.
I don't think I had to take any of those in my path, so that's good.
My brain doesn't work that way. And so this is not a natural strength, and it's definitely something that I've had to, I think you're right, a lot of our agents be a little bit more intentional about. I mean, part of how I've grown in this area is just by necessity.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So
yeah,
as
sure.
our organization's shifted and we've had change in our accounting space, it's forced me to have to step in. It's forced Anna and Vic to have to step in and go, okay, hold on. Let's do a better job of looking at the data, looking at the number, organizing it in a way that actually makes sense to us so we can tell a better numbers story and then ultimately gain insight into, the other two hats as strategists and leaders, and then as operators working towards excellence. Being able to look into the data, the numbers, the P&L, the bottom line, think like a CFO. Yeah, it's a skill you can develop. It's a skill anyone can develop. But I'm jumping to the end, right? But the end here is you just got to block off the time, put on the hat, decide to be intentional about it, and then eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah, I've been along for that journey. I've seen all of you kind of grow in that space. It's been interesting to watch. And honestly, I mean, I've benefited from that 100%, right? Like when I know my numbers more than anything, and it's very empowering. It is not my natural strength either, but I feel like we make so much smarter strategic decisions based on actually knowing where we're at.
I know there's a lot of agents in our company that this actually is their strength.
Yeah.
We've got former accountants.
Yeah, we do.
And so it's fun to watch them. They come in, the first thing they do.
Build a spreadsheet.
Is build spreadsheets.
Absolutely. I've seen those.
I love that superpower.
Yeah.
I don't have that superpower. I do wonder if there's a cross-section, like if there's a reason that realtors are more inclined maybe to be visionaries, or maybe we attract people that are very inclined to be just strong operators.
Yeah.
But maybe accountant types are not naturally drawn to real estate.
Yeah.
And yet if I look around, I definitely do know there's a handful of our folks that's exactly where they came from, and they're really, really good at what they do. So I think maybe the starting point here is, regardless of, you're probably not going to be great at all three of these things. Oh, absolutely.
You're going to have to learn how
on
to spend
top
time
of the
in
fact that talking systems here, you got to be your sales department lead, you've got to be your service department lead, and you've got to
marketing department.
So man, we wear a lot of hats. So I think there's some grace that we should provide ourselves. It's not easy, and these are big sweeping ideas to put on your CEO hat and COO hat, but it really doesn't have to be that intimidating. All three of these, as we've said repeatedly, it just means take this resource, figure out the questions you need to be asking, and just choose to be that one hat for a couple of hours, a month or a quarter. Yeah. And I think it starts to solve itself.
Yeah, you will figure it out if you create the space and the time to go figure it out. Yeah. So let's dig in. So what I love that we've talked about maybe the outcomes of what you get when you ask yourself these questions, because we're getting to like you have more information to be able to make smarter decisions in both those other spaces. But what is the key insight? Like when I sit down as a CFO, what is the key kind of question I should be asking myself?
I'll force myself not to repeat what's written in the module, because that's really good, but if a CEO is about vision and strategy and people, ultimately direction, where are we going?
Where are we going? Yeah.
And a COO is about operations and systems and SOPs, meaning like how we operate with excellence.
What could work better? Yes.
Then I think, yes, great question. Then a CFO to me is about our allocation of resources, principally money. But I think also if you look at how a lot of organizations are structured, you might find that HR actually falls, because your two largest resources are your money
And your people.
Also your people.
Yeah.
And so you can think of it that way. Now, some parts of the people definitely are about the CEO, right? The hearts and minds.
Yeah.
But in terms of the allocation of resources, that is kind of a CFO question.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
a CFO goes allocation of resources, data, and ultimately the money.
Mm-hmm.
So if a CEO is about direction and a COO is about, I don't know, I call it excellence.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that a CFO is partly about insight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their job is to provide insight for the other hats in order to think, okay, based on where we're going and based upon how we're planning to get there, other two hats.
Yeah.
How are we doing? How are the metrics performing? How is it relating to the bottom line? Are the financial and measurable goals that we're working to attain actually showing up in the numbers? Because my crazy CEO believes that we'll get there, and my operator has a plan of how to get there.
We are going to do it this way.
I'm here to make sure that we can actually see it in the data.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's the key that I want people to hear in this too, is that it's not just about the money, it's about the resources. And so resources just aren't just money. And maybe that makes this slightly more approachable. It's just about, in general, the people, the money, even like the way you're spending your time and like, is it working at a higher level? And you've got to have data to kind of support that to be able to make some changes.
Yeah, I really love this framework. There's moments where I'm like, this is way overcomplicated. Just shut up and sell houses and do a great job. Then I go, no. It depends on how you look at it.
Right.
This can be super complicated, or it can just be, I just need to create little silos. These are just little dividers
100%.
In the file cabinet. I'm all these things. I'm all these people. And as a real estate agent of a small business, mostly it's all just a giant mess inside of a
vat of things.
I don't know. I was a blender.
Oh, a blender. Okay.
It's not that structured. We're wearing all these hats all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a simple exercise in creating space to just isolate each of these things as we move through. And that's where you get clarity, because instead of asking a billion questions, including what you're going to do with that inspection statement this morning, you just get to ask yourself a handful of questions in this particular silo to get clarity on each of these spaces.
Yeah, let's give people a little bit more, things to think through, right? Like, so in this space specifically, it's about creating the space. It's about going, I am not going to think about all the other things, stepping out of my business and choosing to go, okay, I am going to wear this hat today specifically and only this, right? So let's give people some more direction on what else could they be asking themselves as a CFO during this thinking time.
Well, now I will cheat and look at the great resource that you have, because these strategic thinking questions, are really, really helpful. I think the planning prompts and the focus points are which you guys can look at are great as well. But strategic questions, we're asking, are we profitable? But more importantly, do I know why? Mm-hmm. So I want to get to some resources that you're going to need to have.
Exactly.
How are you going to answer the profitable question? Well, first of all, you're going to need a P&L. But are we profitable and why? Meaning, is the strategy showing up in the numbers, right? And what are the levers that are actually getting there? I mean, even us as a team, we've been working on talking about in our quarterly planning sessions the levers that are actually driving the bottom line. So do I have a current clear picture of income, expenses, reserves? Great question. What costs are producing results and what's just overhead? It's kind of like the red light, green light discussion we have with real estate agents. You pick up a lead generation source. You go, let me just try this. You spend some money. You go, well, I just need to sell one house a year
to get the ROI.
And it'll pay for itself. And 5 years later, that money's been trickling out. So this is a simple question. If I look at where I'm spending money, it's sort of like a lead source analyzer. Where am I spending money, and which of those areas are actually producing results?
Biggest returns, And
what you're going to find is just like everything else. 80% of your results are coming from 20% of your inputs or less. And so, that's just an accountability question. So what costs are actually producing results and what's just stuff I'm spending? And there is some just spending. I mean, ultimately, it costs money to make money. Are we financially ready for a slowdown or a big opportunity?
I like that
So we talk about reserves, and our reserves are there both for safety. Oh crap, what if we have a slow 3 to 4 months? But our reserves can also be allocated towards, well, there is another 2008 coming. Or at some point this summer, if things are going really, really well, and I want to try and invest in some either new leads or administrative support, So yeah, reserves is a big one.
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple more. Do I have visibility into my key numbers? That's a great question.
Yeah.
So do I have great KPIs? Where are we wasting time, money, or talent? So these are great strategic thinking questions. If I go back to what I was suggesting, you're all these things, it's in a blender, but if you can just segment some time to think about allocation of resources, data, and money, meaning what insights can I glean to help the other two hats?
Yeah.
Those are really good questions to start with.
And I love that, like, they're not specific about the money. So, I mean, I also can see maybe when we talk through these questions, I see a little bit of panic in people. I mean, because they're like, oh, I need to go backwards to be able to get to this place, right? So, I mean, that's where I go to these resources.
What's an example of that?
I just think they're not even sure where their money's going. They don't have the business budget in mind, right? Like they don't have the proper cash flow. There's things that maybe need to be in place before you can get here, so this can be more approachable and a better conversation. But this reveals it either way, right?
Yes. I mean, what I hear you saying, it's like which is first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
Excuse me. You need that data to be able to answer these questions. Yes. But it all actually starts with good questions.
Yeah.
If you're willing to ask the right question, it's going to reveal what you need in order to be able to answer it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think those are the starting point. And the fact that you read those questions or look through them and go, well, crap, I don't know how to answer them. Well, that's the beginning of the work to be done. That's the work to be done. 100%.
Yes.
And again, it's how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So don't panic about the fact that I don't have all this stuff.
Yes.
Decide to embark on a long-term journey of systematically over time building something that is more clear and is more capable, profitable, sustainable, enjoyable. We're in the business of building better businesses. You don't do that in a day.
Right.
You do it by segmenting time to ask good questions, to go figure out the work to be done, so that in time you end up with something that's big and beautiful.
Yeah. Let's talk through these resources a little bit, because I think there's some just really good ones here that are approachable. So I think you mentioned you can't have a conversation with yourself or ask yourself the question of, is my profitability, what's the reason for my profitability, right? Unless you have a P&L statement, right? So I think that's one thing to even think about as a resource. But you mentioned are my key numbers, right? If you don't even know how to start with what your key numbers could be, right? There's a really good KPI dashboard, I think, is a resource in here too, to maybe, again, just get you thinking about what are my numbers. And if I don't have those, like, that is the work to be done on that journey. Is there any other places to start there?
You might actually be able to answer that question.
Yeah.
Excuse me, better than me. It's been a year since I taught this money course.
Yeah.
And I know that you're very clued into what all is in the Forge. But for me, at the top of the list, if I do this sequentially, I mean, the first thing I need to be able to run a better business as a CFO is I need to be willing to build a budget. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be great. And we can think of it, what do we call it, a spending plan?
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person that doesn't want to be limited.
That works better.
yeah. This is where I get to spend money. And this doesn't, we've got great basic little budgets for you. We've got more complex versions. Don't worry about it being perfect. It's not going to, even our budget at this point, which is a significant amount of monthly overhead, we're never quite perfect. It's always morphing, but it's a starting point to look in the mirror. So I think creating a budget, best way to do that is just take last year and take everything you had, where you spent money, ask yourself, where are you going to make tweaks to that? Make those modifications, and then track on a monthly basis how you do so. So one, a budget. Two, your basic KPIs. And that's just key performance indicators, for crying out loud. Let's just call them numbers.
Yeah. Like, data. What do you need to know about your business? Yes.
Which is not that complicated. And again, you got a great dashboard. What's your sales units? What's your GCI? But you can get a little fancier. You can look at your commission percentage. Like, we have your commission percentages. We know what your buy side and sell side average commissions
and
are.
average sales prices and all those kinds of things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Average sale price. But then even fancier, you can start looking at expense ratios. Like, how much am I spending in overhead relative to my revenue? Mm-hmm. You can start looking at how much profit, bottom line, am I actually retaining as a percentage of my gross commission income? Mm-hmm. We track that very closely as an organization. You can look at your labor expense, like how much money am I spending on people, including myself, relative to my revenue? Because some of us are spending a lot on people, and some of us are spending a lot on marketing. Yeah, and a lot of that will track backwards to your archetype
and your lead generation strategy. Absolutely.
Which, side note, is a big, exciting project for me in the next 12 months, is to be able to, especially for all the people that are doing their finances through the AFS program with Lisa, for us to be able to confidentially provide analysis of expense ratios for agents in the program.
Super insightful.
So that they can compare to other team members. And
yeah.
But also I would look at KPIs, lead source analysis. I think that's a KPI where it's a separate little exercise, right? But it's fundamentally a KPI. Where am I spending money? Where am I getting my returns and results on my, and then just even expense categories. So KPIs, 1, budget, 2, KPIs, 3, P&L. Profit and loss statement or an income statement, they're essentially the same thing. When we talk about financial analysis, as a real estate agent running a small business, I think your balance sheet is probably much less important.
Yeah.
And you can get lost in all the financials, but this doesn't have to be that complicated. A basic P&L is just going to have your revenue in, your cost of sales out, which is essentially what you're spending here at the company, splits and stuff, which is the inverse of ours. Ours is revenue in minus what we pay you. Yours is what you pay us.
Yeah.
And then, that's going to give you your gross profit or your real revenue. And then you're just going to have the basic expenses that are coming out.
Yep.
And so a basic P&L is huge. Again, a plug for Agent
AFS.
Financial Services.
Yes.
We will do that for you for, what is it, $95
a month. Yeah.
It's absolutely peanuts.
Yeah.
It's a great, it's a no-brainer investment.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the other one that I would add to this is reserves. I would say if you're doing your job right, you got a budget, you know your KPIs, you're tracking your P&L on a monthly basis, and I think you're being intentional about your reserves. And I know we have resources for this.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
By that, I mean business reserves, so that if you have a bad month, you can pay all the bills for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Yeah.
2, a tax reserve, so that you know that you're not going to wake up in April and panic because you
have to pay your taxes.
Yeah, which you will every year.
Yep.
But then also, like I mentioned, an investment reserve. I think that independently from our expense reserves and independently from our tax reserves, we should be thinking about growth and intentionality. So I think those 4 are big. What would you add?
Yeah, no, I mean, everything that you're talking about is definitely all the things that I'm thinking about that honestly are on the money journey, right? Like, so to be a good CFO and to have the data and the information that you're going to need, it's all about how you set it all up. And so I'm just picturing the immense amount of resources that we have on that money journey of survival to significance.
Yeah.
There's so many good things in there, but I think you're exactly right. Like, start with the budget, work your way down from there. It's not rocket science. You just have to commit to doing it, right?
I'll add one more resource for you.
Yeah.
It's my friend ChatGPT.
Okay.
Well, I think there's so much you can glean if you're willing to just play around. Take your production roll from the last 12 to 24 months. That's just a line item of all the sales with the commission numbers, with whatever. Build a little spreadsheet and dump it into ChatGPT and say, hey, help me understand some of what you can glean from here.
Yeah.
It's actually amazing how much insight you can just start to build from that. Mm-hmm. And we've got great starting points for all this stuff. Yeah. But honestly, there's a lot of areas I think chat and whatever AI, it just sucks.
Maybe not so great I am.
I wouldn't ask it for dating advice. I wouldn't ask it for life advice or parenting advice or business strategy. I think that's a terrible
but numbers
idea.
Are concrete,
100%.
Right? Yeah.
Anything concrete that you can dump in there and ask for analysis or insight or ratios, you're actually going to get really, really good insight.
Yeah. All right, good. So I think there's tons of good resources, guys. I want you to go to check them out. I'm just going to close with, I think you've already kind of talked about it and alluded to it a few times, but what is the number one place that you recommend for people to just get started thinking like a CFO?
Oh boy. Am I supposed to know the answer to that question?
No. I mean, I think you can go wherever you want to go.
Well, I mean, the books on this one are challenging. If I've got one book that I would say to start with, it's actually, again, not on this list. So let's get it on. But it's Scaling Up.
Okay.
Scaling Up.
We'll get that added.
I've got it in my bag, but I don't know the author. Let's get that one added.
Absolutely.
It's not actually a CFO book. It's actually a Build a Better Business book.
Okay.
But the chapters at the latter portion of the book on finance, there's really nothing quite as solid and sound as. Frankly, it's probably the number one Build a Better Business book everyone can read. Okay. So I'd start there. And then the other thing I'd just say is you don't really need much. You actually just need a list of your sales, your basic data, and a cup of coffee and a quiet space.
Yep.
And if you got that and the ability to talk to chat and maybe build a spreadsheet or just do it on a napkin, that's the starting point. Just get in front of your numbers and start interacting with them. Insight is what will come out of that. And insight is what you need as a CFO to provide value to the rest of your business.
Yeah, I would say, guys, just make the commitment to start, right? Like, I mean, so if you even early on in your business, if you're still in survival, make the decision to start thinking about your money and your finances early on so that can set you up for success in the long run. That's what I got.
Good stuff. Thanks.